Welcome back to another episode of Those Two Dudes. It is that dude, Ruben, and this is a very special edition because obviously I love sports. Josh isn't here because this is something that's way out of his realm, but I'm a huge Marvel buff, huge nerd. Anything Marvel, Disney Plus, I'm all into it. I will be there in front of the kids, first in line, watching anything Marvel. So special edition, I had to do something Marvel. With that, obviously, I had to bring over my friend Sam from the Girl Who Talks Sports. Sam, what's going on?
Hey Ruben, I'm so excited to do this. I'm prepped with my Marvel gear on. I did my hair like Yelena in Black Widow for that reason. I'm like so excited to do this because there's so much to talk about, and we're gonna get into this. I'm very pumped.
Yes. We already in the pre-show, quote unquote, we already went into a ton. So yes, there's a ton to get into. The beautiful thing about Marvel is it's ongoing. It's always going. It's a whole storyline. I love it. I know there's 20 plus movies, so it's not like we're gonna break down each movies, but this whole storyline is just amazing. Every time they introduce new characters, it's not just introducing a character and then they have a story and then they go. No, they fit them right in the storyline as if they've existed the entire time. So that's the beauty of Marvel. For those people that don't know a ton about Marvel, we'll kind of just give a brief history of where we're at, what's been going on to where we are now. We're going to bridge that gap. There's 4 different phases right now. Phase 1, that was the initial phase. That's what kind of kicked everything off. It was phase 1. It was Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, and Avengers.
He forgot about the Incredible Hulk.
Any of those movies for you stick out? Did you have any of those early favorites?
I definitely know that when the Avengers came out, like that was like one of the biggest things I think for all of us that grew up either reading the comics or just like, being involved with superheroes. Like we were like, wow, they're actually like making this happen. And I don't think anyone really expected it to like be at the point that we're at now. They probably did. They probably knew exactly what they were doing, but like Avengers was like the first crossover movie for us. And I remember being like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like it was so cool.
It was the first major crossover that was non-animated, of course. And so it was amazing. And I mean, yeah, they can say that they planned it. There's no way that they had an idea that it would be a shoe-in billion-dollar film moving forward now every single time Avengers movie comes out. But yeah, so obviously phase 1, you got Iron Man. Iron Man 2 comes out. Iron Man 2 also throwing characters in there that introduced War Machine, which is
right.
Rhodey, his buddy. You have Thor. Thor introduced also, I know he had a brief cameo in there, was Hawkeye. Hawkeye had a brief cameo into Thor. And then also, mind you, this is also important, Thor's brother is Loki. Loki plays a big role in all of this.
Right.
Right. And then going into Captain America, you're introduced to Captain America. You're also introduced to his best friend, Bucky Barnes. Can't go past Bucky Barnes because there's so much more to him.
Bucky Barnes.
Love Bucky Barnes. Love him.
Love him.
But can't go past there because there's much more on Bucky Barnes much later. And then of course you have the Avengers. It's the ultimate crossover movie for that time. All the Avengers in one space. Oh, and then also in Iron Man 2, I forgot. How can I forget? They're introduced into Black Widow.
And also Nick Fury.
Yeah. So
yeah, that was one of the coolest things I remember seeing when she does the they go into like the boxing ring, right? In that movie.
Yes, that was her first scene.
And she like takes him down, and I was like, oh, she's gonna be so cool. Like they set that up really well.
Yeah, and then she officially introduces herself at that donut shop or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's phase 1. The Avengers win, obviously. Shocker, spoiler alert. First movie, Avengers win. Side note, though, super important side note: the end credit scene, I believe, or one of the end scenes of Avengers was Thanos.
Yes,
being upset.
That's true.
That they lost.
I remember watching the Avengers like within like the past year because I hadn't seen it in so long. And that end credit scene, knowing what we know now, seeing the way that they were trying to line that up, I was like, wow, they really like started all the way at the beginning there to like plan out this whole, at least up until Thanos.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy.
Yeah, right. Knowing what we know now, we had no idea then. And we thought, oh, that's weird. I wonder what's going to be next. Yeah. But knowing what we know now, the map that they've laid out for us is just wow. And then also, I thought it was really cool that the guy that, of course, voices Thanos, Josh Brolin, he's kind of stuck around with that role since the beginning, which initially in the beginning, it wasn't a big role. It was just literally a line or two here and there. It wasn't anything serious.
And it turned into something real serious.
Oh, it turned into something real serious.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So, okay. So Avengers win. All is right in the world. New York City is damaged, but whatever, as long as the Avengers won. Moving on to phase 2, we have Iron Man 3. We have Thor, the Dark World, the second Thor. Not a lot of people talk about this one. Wasn't that great? But then also, I'd argue it's one of my favorites, Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Absolutely one of my favorites because you still have Captain America. You now have Black Widow. But here you're introduced to two different characters. You're introduced to Falcon, Sam Falcon. And then also you're introduced to the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Which, of course, is Bucky Barnes.
Right. Yeah, I remember when we saw that movie and like in the trailer, you know, they're showing him and everything. And they put the black around his eyes, I think, to make him a little bit less recognizable. And like him being the Winter Soldier was like a huge reveal. Like that was like a big
huge
thing.
because you thought he died in the original Captain America.
Right, which is like so crazy. And like that, I remember that as well. And also, you know, minor crossovers there. You know, it's a Captain America movie, but you know, Black Widow is in it, and then you know, you're getting introduced to Sam and all those guys. But then like, you know, if you had been like really following along and you knew Bucky was Steve's best friend, you were like, what is unless you like knew from the comics or whatever. But like for me, I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Every single time I watched a movie, I was like, this is the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And it only just kept going. Like, it never stopped.
Yeah. If that's the craziest thing, then you really haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. That was fantastic. Yeah, so Bucky Barnes, who's now Winter Soldier, he's the bad guy, and just a phenomenal movie. Again, you're introduced to that. Also, again, right, this is the plan that, you know, we can talk about Easter eggs all day in movies and like little lines that they drop. I know there's a line in Captain America Winter Soldier where they're going after one of the Senate guys, and he name drops different characters. And you don't think anything of it. You hear Bruce Banner, which of course is the Hulk, and then you hear a couple other characters, and then he also references Stephen Strange, but he doesn't say anything past that, and so you have no idea. You just think, oh, he's just naming people.
Yeah.
Little do we know.
And I feel like Doctor Strange came out how many years after Winter Soldier? Like 4 or 5 years later. Like
yeah.
That really was like just like a sprinkle in that mix. I also just have to say my favorite scene I think ever in Marvel is in Winter Soldier, when before Steve knows that it's Bucky and he's chasing after him and they end up on top of the buildings, and Steve throws his shield and Bucky turns around and grabs it with his hand.
Oh yeah.
Hands down. I mean, there's a ton of amazing scenes. That one always, every single time I get chills. I'm like, that is so cool.
I mean, you knew, right? Like that wasn't just your average bad guy, like something, right? Like he wasn't going to be able to defeat him like he normally would.
Right. Yeah.
So cool. So I want to rewind a little bit to the movie before, which is Thor, the Dark World. Again, nobody really talks about it. However, there is an end credit scene that gives you some foreshadowing into, which is the next movie in phase 2, which is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
So then you have Guardians of the Galaxy, because something completely new. At this point, you've all had the same characters in the movie. So Guardians of the Galaxy was something completely new. Nobody really knew, I guess, what to expect, or if they were going to incorporate some other characters in here. It was a really good movie. It was funny. It worked. Thank God. Yeah. So pretty cool there. And then, of course, the last 2 movies of phase 2, where you have your second Avengers movie, Ultron. Pretty awesome.
Mhm.
And then you have Ant-Man. It ended with Ant-Man. Again, another one where you introduced a brand new character.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see. And I know the end credit in Ant-Man is where is essentially a scene into the next upcoming Captain America Civil War movie, where they had captured Winter Soldier and Captain America. Yeah, again, right. You have no idea what the scenario is. You're just in the
Yeah.
middle of the scene, and it's Captain America talking to Falcon, and they're in trouble. And then Falcon says, you know, or Captain America says, "Yeah, we're in trouble. I think we're on our own here." And then Sam says, "Yeah, actually, you know what? I think I know a guy," referring to
Yeah. I
uh,
think something else that's like really important that I don't think a lot of people realize was Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians was, people like new characters getting introduced, and it's supposed to act as like a bit of an origin movie. And then, Gamora's ties to Thanos, and like, how he took her and raised her and all that kind of stuff. And then, again, you're not really thinking about Thanos being like the ultimate villain. He's just another character in a movie. And I mean, going back to the first Avengers movie, Loki was like the villain that everybody was like, oh, we're going to be dealing with Loki forever. And it's like, Loki was like a speck, like a real small speck. And then it just starts to form, and you don't even realize that it's forming until you've come to the point like that we're at now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You see the correlation that there's, again, right. He was in the Avengers and now he's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and Gamora and the Nebula, of course, that's his daughter.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's a connection there. Yeah, that's so cool. And then also, again, right, little Easter eggs here, and also foreshadowing, talking about Avengers Age of Ultron. There's the party scene where in the kind of in the beginning where they're just hanging out and being regular human beings, even though not all of them are human. And they try to pick up Thor's hammer. Do you remember this scene? And nobody could do it, obviously, because the person that does it would rule Asgard. And then you see, very in a super glimpse moment, you see it start to move just briefly from Captain America.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, and it's supposed to act as like a funny scene that like Thor like kind of like stops for a second. He's like, oh crap, like I didn't really expect that. And then again, you don't really expect that to be anything else later on. And now all of a sudden it's like a major plot point in Endgame, which is like so crazy.
That and the right line, like he said it. Well, I mean, I know we're jumping ahead, but in Endgame, the line Thor says is, "I knew it," and so and that's you can put the two together. Oh man, that was so cool. But yeah, after that, the last movie there was Ant-Man. I loved Ant-Man. It was good. Paul Rudd, who knew that you'd have a comedy actor all these years be a superhero, but now he's killing it as Ant-Man. And I know they're filming their third movie now, which is supposed to be, I mean, phenomenal. All right.
Yeah.
Well, everything that happens now is, they're just billion-dollar films left and right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also Ant-Man is another, character we didn't expect to be a major plot point. And yet, going into Endgame, Infinity War, and all that stuff, I skipped over Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that was like the biggest mistake, because it was such a major plot point that I was just like, oh, I'll just see it when I can see it. It's not that big of a deal. And it ended up being like one of the most important things to like bringing everyone back from the blip, which is, again, insane. Like, It's so crazy.
It was good. It was good. That was, well, we'll save that. I'll put a bow on that one because we'll come back to that one.